In my 10 years as a leadership coach, I have worked with a number of leaders, many of them not unlike yourselves, who are trying to fit in a little bit differently in the workplace. And when they think about fitting in, there's really three areas that we tend to spend most of our time on. We spend time on helping them fit into the company culture. Sometimes they feel misaligned with company culture, and sometimes there isn't even a company culture to fit into. Sometimes it's their leadership style. Employees, coworkers, etc., reject the leadership style that they're attempting to bring to the workplace. And lastly, they may have poor relationships with key stakeholders. So people like you invite people like me to work with them to help identify the gaps that exist in those three areas and work to find ways, strategies, and tactics in order to make improvements in those particular three areas. I'm thinking of a client that I recently had who had a very difficult and challenging time with her boss. And I asked her, so what do you do in respect to your relationship with your boss if in fact it is this difficult and challenging? And she said, I avoid him. And I said, wow, it's awfully hard to avoid a boss in the workplace. How do you do that? And she said, well, he sets meetings. I never set up a meeting with him. So I do attend meetings that he sets up, but they're only meetings that he's structured and has put into our calendar. And if he's ever walking down the hallway to me, I always take a first left or first right to get out of his way because I don't want to have to engage him in a conversation. And I said, wow, that's a great area that we can work on because I don't think avoiding your boss is a great business strategy. So we began to work on that, and what we found through several conversations was that the reason she was avoiding her boss is because he was highly unempathetic. He did not demonstrate empathy to any of his employees. He was highly articulate, he was very smart, he was very bright, and yet he overused the strength. And he would talk endlessly at meetings. He was an over-talker. And he would talk a lot at one-on-one meetings, at team meetings, at client meetings. He would talk a lot. And the employees eventually decided that this isn't a relationship that's going to work well, so we're going to be quiet. And we're not going to talk, and we're not going to engage in conversations with him and let him just take over the show. So when I think about leadership style and modifying leadership style, an area that I tell most clients most often to work on is empathy and showing more empathy in the workplace. So how do you do this? If that CEO was my client, I would tell him that there's 5 areas he should work on in order to show more empathy. First, I would say that he should talk less and listen more. Great leaders would tell you, including Bill Gates, that one of the ways that they have become great leaders is by listening more, and so they talk less. Secondly, when someone comes to you with a problem, or if you brought a problem to them, the first thing you should say to them is, I understand how you feel. Understanding is a lot different than agreement. You don't have to agree with how they feel, but you do want to let them know that you understand how they feel. Next, you want to ask them how you can help. They came to you for a reason. So you want to understand and be clear on how you can help them and what solutions and ideas that you could provide. Next, you want to ask them what ideas and solutions do they have to solve this particular situation. Before you start talking and before you start sharing all of your brilliant ideas, you want to see what ideas and suggestions and solutions the employee has come up with. And quite frankly, if they don't have any, I would reschedule the meeting and say, why don't you think about it a little bit and come back, and then let's talk about the ideas and solutions that you have before I go to the last step, which is asking how I can help you by providing additional ideas and suggestions beyond what you have already come up with. And that's the point where I can start adding my intellect and experiences into the conversation as opposed to doing it at the beginning. So I'm confident that this CEO and my client and all of you can build your leadership style to a much stronger level by showing empathy in the workplace.